Episode 69 on the Real Kyper at Noon show. I hope everybody had a very good weekend. Plenty to talk about. We are now entering the second week of this fairly young NHL season here in 2021. Now, have we seen an awful lot to make some strong determinations? Probably not, but have we seen enough now? As many teams get over that half a dozen mark into this young season, yeah, we've seen enough, at least to have some pretty good conversations, including what our thumbnail says, the Montreal Canadiens. We look at the standings today going into the second week, and we see Montreal, Toronto, and Vegas at 10 points. We give honorable mention to teams like the Washington Capitals. But we look at a team like Montreal, and where do our level of interest in terms of the Montreal Canadiens go after watching what we've watched basically start all their games on the road? So we'll get into that as well. Like I said, busy weekend. The Buffalo Sabres, a huge shootout win, which I think helps drown some sorrows for the Buffalo Bills. And we know we've got football guys involved in this show, namely Joe and Jordan. We know Mac is a fair-weathered guy, so he'll just roll with the punches. But Jordan, before we get into the hockey, man, we're in Toronto here, so it's like our cousin, our baby brother, the Buffalo Bills here in Toronto. Everybody pulling for Buffalo, and I'm sure probably everybody else, just in terms of that feel-good story, which went viral yesterday.
It's a fun time, man. It's an opportunity to have fun.
People are crushed today for the Bills.
Well, you go out and crush a couple tables. I think it's interesting. I heard a funny story last week from one of my friends who I think he was an Oilers fan back in the day. He's a little bit older than me, and when they moved, he had to decide who he wanted to be a fan of. And he said to himself, the Bills look like they have a good time. Like, they have a good thing going. If I'm not going to be in the city where a team lives, maybe I should be interested in the Bills. So he's been a hardcore Bills fan since like 2015, and I didn't speak to him much yesterday, but I don't know. I'm fine. I really enjoyed it. I like the storylines. I like the fun, and I like how we have like the David versus Goliath, because Patrick Mahomes might be the best quarterback that we've seen come into the league since somebody like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. So I enjoy every second of it. I love sports, you know that. I just like competition and the narrative.
Mac, what about PEI? They're huge NFL fans all over the world, but in PEI, who's their team in PEI?
Well, they're more CFL focus, you know?
Really?
I don't know. I don't pay. Listen, all I know is, you losers, I'm a few hours away from Champa Bay. They've called it now.
Well, I was going to get there.
Champa Bay is now called Champa Bay, with the Lightning winning and with Tom doing his work. So I'd have to say I'm with Champa Bay right now.
Okay. And I was going to get to that, the fact that you're in Florida now, so you got all that Tom Brady love. I just went to PEI first, but you told us the demographics that follow football, they're about 90. So, I mean, not much on Bill's love coming out of PEI, according to Doug Maclean. But
well, I know I've got some great Steeler fans there and stuff, but I mean, you know, it just ends quick when their team's out. Yeah. They quickly go back to Montreal, Toronto, or Boston as their focal point with hockey. So they're moving away from that in a hurry.
Well, like I said, at least the Sabres salvaged the weekend with a 4-3 shootout victory over the Washington Capitals. As far as what you were able to see, oh, by the way, like I'm hearing like you got a major surgery, dental. We're really thankful that you put time in for our show today, by the way. Are you okay, first of all, to talk? Should we put you on the IR? What's going on?
No, I'm fine. I've got three prescription bottles on my dresser ready to go into action when I finish the 2.5 hour dental surgery this afternoon. But no, I'll tough it out. I'm fine. I mean, I've had players go in and lose teeth between periods and come back on the bench. I'll do the same thing. I'll be back in the mix, and it won't affect me as long as there's prescriptions there. I will be fine. And Jill is the one that is not that excited about it, to be quite honest. So we'll see. We'll battle through it.
We'll get you out of this show in plenty of time. What time's
what
time's your appointment? Tooth hurty?
I'm in the chair at 2:00, Nick, and I'll be there till 4:30. So I will give you an update if I can talk after that. Jill is very hopeful that I won't be able to talk.
All right. Well, let's start with where our thumbnail is, and maybe you can give us an update on your feelings. Like, we certainly didn't see the Montreal Canadiens missing the playoffs this year, but have we seen a look from them? And it is a different look. Half the team apparently feels different with the acquisitions that Bergevin has made, and let's give him full credit here. He had a window of opportunity to bring in some new faces, add some new dimensions, but Mac, this isn't anything close to the 24th overall team that we saw last season before going in the bubble. And what a different look the Montreal Canadiens having. Where do you start? Because it really, to me, is from the net out. With all due respect to Toffoli and Anderson, I see their game going to another level because of what I see from the net on out.
But look, let's start with Bergeron and the pressure that he was under to make something happen. They got excited in the playoffs, when they won the first round, beat out Pittsburgh, and he's had unwavering support from Jeff Molson. And, there's been as much pressure on this guy as any general manager in the league. They saw a little glimmer of hope with beating Pittsburgh. They had preserved cap space, which was very smart compared to a lot of teams that are in big-time cap problems. And he utilized it, and he went for it. And full marks. I mean, you and I both picked them to finish second in the Canadian division based on the summer's work of Bergeron. Refocused on the bench, feels good. I love his staff of Muller and Luke Richardson, Deschamps. I like a lot of things about it. But it starts with the work in the offseason, and then it goes to where you said, and that's the big move he made in goal.
Well, and
with Allen.
And Allen comes in and as advertised, Mac, a veteran, stability to come in, win your first couple of games, give Carey Price that feel that the weight of the world isn't constantly on my shoulders every night. And it starts, I guess, with that early trade. And then I look at two significant adds on the blue line. Edmondson comes in as a depth guy who gives a ton of size and attitude, and it really came to fruition on the weekend with the Myers fight. And so much has been talked amongst the media on where that level of fighting engagement comes in. Is it overrated? We also saw Haley fight in Ottawa with Nathan Beaulieu on the weekend, and people called that a nothing fight and did nothing. And I don't necessarily buy that either, but that one was a very emotional lift for the Montreal Canadiens based on the hit on Joel Armia.
Yeah, but here's where it started, and I remember listening to a comment by Bergeron coming out of training camp. We are going to be a lot tougher team to play against. What do we talk about all the time? What happens at playoff time? Who becomes the tougher team to play against? The Montreal Canadiens in this Canadian division. Toronto's had a good start with winning games. We know that. Calgary's had a reasonably good start. Winnipeg. Who is the toughest team to play against right now? It starts in goal with Allen move. It starts with a big blue line. Edmondson added there. Romanov. A scout told me the other day, Romanov reminds him of a young Raymond Bourque. Now, I've never heard that comparison to any young defenseman in the game before. And that's what a scout said to me. Doug, he reminds me of a young Raymond Bourque. Now, hey, that's lofty comparables, but this kid has come in and done well. So they, with Weber and Kulak and company there, Petrie, they are a much better blue line. And then you go to the forward group. So the Montreal Canadiens right now, they've got 16 guys on their team who have scored goals for them. Talk about a balanced attack. They look tough.
Ben Sherratt went from almost an extra or a guy that you don't necessarily think of when you thought about the Winnipeg Jets the last few years to a pretty important piece. Romanov, Mac, how many kids come in and don't look out of place playing 18, 20 minutes a night and bring a great energy, Mac? It's clear he loves the game. It clears that there's a draw from the media. He's an engaging guy. There's some charm to this guy. He is given that blue line in it itself a different look. And he's making people forget about a fact that they gave up a pretty good defenseman to get Jonathan Drouin. I mean, it's not bad when you can come back in and make people forget about Sergachev.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. He's got a hockey family background. His dad was a player coach. His grandfather was a player coach. Famous players in the in Russia, Soviet Union. Look, this guy has come in and been a real tremendous addition. You talk Chariot, coming in and putting him with Weber really helps him take a step as well, a healthy Shea Weber. So a lot of things from goaltending to the blue line, and we haven't even touched on a revamped forward group. A lot of things look good right now. When Corey Perry can't get in the lineup till Armia gets injured, and now he gets a chance to step in. Frolic hasn't been able to get in the lineup yet. He will, and he'll be an important guy at times with depth-wise. I just think they've done a lot of good things, and today you'd have to say you would not want to play them in the first round.
If I would have told you last March that Pierre-Luc Dubois could have had a chance to be a Montreal Canadien, but Montreal wouldn't give up Suzuki to get him, you would have told me I was fucking nuts.
I would have told you were right out of your mind. But was it 1-for-1? I can't believe that. No, there had to be something.
It's not that forget about 1-for-1.
Yeah.
The deal doesn't get built, without Suzuki. So my whole point of that is it never really got anywhere close because Montreal just decided that this guy was an untouchable, and it could very well be the case if we see Montreal knocking on a Stanley Cup in the next year or two.
And let's not forget, let's go back. How did they acquire? Like, I'm talking, Bergeron again, the heat he's taken, or Bergevin, I should say. What am I thinking? Bergeron. I got Boston on my brain. Bergevin goes back, and, I mean, he makes a great trade in the Pacioretty deal to salvage that situation. The kid in the playoffs last year looked like a star. So Bergevin, all of a sudden, acquisitions, free agent, trades, picking up some young players. Again, another astute move. And today, Vegas are saying Cody Glass. I know he scored the other night, but Cody Glass, Nick Suzuki, who would you rather have? Today, you'd say Suzuki. And it looks pretty good on, in that number 1-2 punch down the middle with Danault and Suzuki. That top six looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. Suzuki, for me, the intelligence, the reads, the ability to get the puck back. He's got a great stick, Mac. Yeah. It just seems like this guy's really shaping up to be a complete 200-foot player. And, now you factor in out of a Canadian division, Suzuki, Danault, not as bad to go up against Matthews, Tavares, Draisaitl, McDavid. Montreal, what was a weakness 8 months ago, now looks like one that can hang in there, or if not on many nights, be better.
Well, you look at Danault for Suzuki. Important to have that 1-2 guy that you can put out in tough defensive situations, although Suzuki certainly handled himself well. Danault has become a really valuable guy in defensive situations. I mean, he looks like a Bergeron looked, early in his career, with the smarts this guy plays with. Talking to players, hearing players around the league saying they hate playing against this guy. He's so damn tough to play against, So then, Nick, what have we talked about the Montreal Canadiens for the last 5 years? No size on the wings.
Yeah.
No size on the wings. And now what have they got on the wings? You bring in Anderson, you bring in Toffoli, you bring in Armia makes it into their lineup on a deal. I mean, all of a sudden they've got size on their wings and they're playing big on the wings. And again, that's another great move by Bergevin. So what don't you like about the Montreal Canadiens today? What would you have to say is their downside?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen a weakness yet. And like you said, Nick, they've been on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, they've put themselves in a position to, I think, at least what we still think should be a scenario where it's the Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. You assume that the Leafs are a little bit more ready to come out of that division than Montreal, or for the most part, as we saw Sunday, even the Calgary Flames. So Montreal is making people believe that they could get themselves into a Final Four.
Okay.
And at least push the Toronto Maple Leafs in this North Division.
So let's have a look at it. Who
Are we good? We are back. No, that wasn't Doug Maclean freezing. I thought maybe your dentist came in and gave you some freezing, Mac. There's a few listeners, I'm sure, that would welcome that.
There was Leaf fans who knocked us off the box there. Some disgruntled Leaf fans, because we're talking Montreal, pulled the breaker on us. But so you're saying, Nick, goaltending and defense, like, who wants to play against this Montreal blue line in the playoff time with the way they're playing, with the skill, with the size, and with the bite? And then you move to the forward group. We love Toronto's forwards, but you said it.
Well, we saw a taste of Toronto and Calgary on Sunday, Mac. The Leafs squeaking out a 3-2 win. Jack Campbell came in and played fairly well. A lot of people probably expected to see Frederik Andersen. That's a conversation in itself. But before we get down to that, let's just talk about whether or not Calgary would have enough to go against a Montreal or Toronto right now in this division. I see them as a good team, but I don't see them as a top team even in this division right now. Where's your assessment of the Calgary Flames?
I had Winnipeg ahead of them. I had them and Vancouver fighting for the final playoff spot. And I said it would come down to goaltending. And today you'd have to say Markstrom's got the edge over Hopi and Demko. And with the way Vancouver's playing, if they don't wake up and get their heads out of their ass, they're gonna miss here real fast, and real soon they're gonna be out of it. But look, Calgary, Markstrom has been the story. Lindholm has been good at center ice. I like the way they've mixed the lines up. Kachuk, you love, but right now I haven't got Calgary in the same ballpark as Toronto, Montreal. I don't have them there, and that's with all due respect. But Markstrom to me has been the number one story, and Their blue line is still a little bit young and a little bit inexperienced. Their forward group should be real good, but I haven't seen enough from them yet. But, I mean, I just see Montreal and Toronto as the two premier teams, and Dubois coming in to Winnipeg and Hellebuck. I see them being a real tough team as well to play against. I don't like their blue line, though.
It's a work in progress right now because they've got Anderson, who should be able to kind of anchor that defense one day, Mac. But is he ready now? It's a little scrambly for me, but you got to put him in a position now. And Giordano is still a guy that can play 18 or 20 minutes, but he's not a Morgan Riley, Mac, where he's going to play 25 or 26 minutes. Those days are long gone, and not necessarily anybody there that can really stand out and be a true quarterback, say, on a power play now in Calgary. Not yet, anyways, Anderson.
Who can be a true franchise defenseman that most Stanley Cup winners need to win a Stanley Cup? Very few teams. I mean, Carolina won it without a franchise defenseman, but very few win it without a impact, at least defenseman, and maybe a franchise defenseman. So I watched the last, you got the last 50 seconds or a minute last night, and Anderson and Valimaki fumbled the puck 3 times in the last minute to try to get them tied. When you got a goaltender that looks like he's injured, you got guys battling at the net. I like them. I like their defense. I just think it's maybe a little young to be a contender, but Markstrom can certainly make them look good. So I certainly don't have anybody close to Montreal and Toronto right now. And I guess that's fun for hockey fans, but
we saw the Leafs beat Edmonton, and we saw them essentially beat Calgary yesterday without that kind of high-flying exchange chances kind of style of hockey here, which I don't know, in many ways might be a really good thing for the Leafs to find ways to win without it, Mac, because that's what you have to do come playoff time. They didn't necessarily look great, but they are finding ways to win games without being at the top of their offensive type of game.
They're defending better. I loved watching Keefe when our favorite, one of your favorite Leafs, Hyman, takes 2 penalties, that put the game on the line, and he snaps on the bench. I like lots of things that's going on there. And they are playing well. And Matthews is, growing up as a player. Marner's growing up before our eyes as players. Nylander looks really good. Johnny T looks good. Riley is just a horse for me, the way he's performing for them. Muzzin's been a battler. Hall has surprised me how good he's been. And hey, let's not criticize their goaltending. I mean, Anderson and Campbell have both been good. Campbell's come in and given them some. I mean, that guy battled last night in the net. You have to love that as a Leaf fan. But, you go into the playoffs and you say, who has the better goaltending? Who has the better defense? I don't have the Leafs there yet.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch Campbell really labor towards the end of the game. I was surprised that he didn't get more love, in terms of attention, a trainer asking him to take his time. He was really laboring. I sent out a text or a tweet, sent to a few people saying it must be cramps. I mean, that might be the only issue here, but he finished the game. He found a way to win. Mac, I'm watching this whole thing play out.
He wouldn't even look at Freddie when he went to the bench.
No.
He wasn't letting anybody in the net.
No,
not a chance.
Sheldon Keefe had no
interest.
No interest and no worries. He was just face planted into his clipboard.
Yeah.
But you watch this thing unfold for Leaf fans, and it goes back to Mac from originally trading for Campbell with the LA Kings to being in a situation after the off season where you heard trade rumors with Anderson, knowing that he's going in his last year of his deal. for me, Mac, and I've said this right from the get-go, you read the tea leaves here, and this is Jack Campbell's net next year. I think they are grooming this guy to take over. Does that mean that Freddie just walks out the door as a free agent, or they move him? But I don't see Frederik Andersen in the plans at all while they continue to groom Jack Campbell. And make no mistake about it, this is Kyle Dubas's guy, okay?
Yeah, but make no mistake about it, Kyle Dubas has got to win this year. Kyle Dubas has got to do some damage in the playoffs. And when they're going against the goaltending that potentially they're going to face at the playoffs, and I mean in the first round, they're going to face pretty good goaltending. In the second round, they're going to face great goaltending. So to get out of their division, they got to have great goaltending. And I'm sorry, they're going to have to play who's the best. And who is going to be the best? I don't know who it's going to be.
That could be Frederik Andersen on a short leash, and then watching him walk out the door, much like Markstrom had to in Vancouver when you make some tough decisions. And let's not forget that there's an expansion draft coming up as well.
Yeah. But look at what we saw happen in the playoffs last year. Colorado lost a chance to win a Stanley Cup because of goaltending. Dallas, with all due respect to Khudobin and how great, or Hudobin, how great he was. I mean, goaltending takes away from winning the Stanley. It wasn't even close to what we saw for goaltending in Tampa Bay. If you don't have great goaltending, you don't win the Canadian division this year. So fool around with Freddie all you want. Fool around with Jack all you want. They got to have great goaltending in every round to win this year. And I don't care how great a goal scorers they are, but their blue line and their goaltending has got to play playoff style hockey. So it'll be fun to watch.
Okay, what isn't really fun to watch is that Vancouver fans going nuts over their team right now, Mac. And while we saw the Montreal Canadiens build their organization up, we saw some stripping going down in Vancouver, especially with Markstrom and Tanev gone. But
Toffoli,
what else?
Levo.
But what really stands out to me, Mac, is in the process of doing that, it's almost as if the focus has been on, we got to find ways to re-sign Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. It just seemed to me like the focus has been around finding money to re-sign these guys. And I'm just wondering if the toll on all of that is kind of the weight of the world on their shoulders right now. Is that part of the equation why they might be struggling a little bit? Bad penalties, bad body language from
You
Pettersson?
mean by the kid? By the kids?
Yeah, by the
rest
kids.
Of the team? No, I think
the
it
kids,
is. I mean, we
the
see
kids alone
reports today that Pettersson is going to change agents. I mean, like, focus on hockey, man. Focus when you're on a damn power play that you make plays. You don't turn. I know he's a kid. I know he's still a young player. Hughes is a young player, but right now, I mean, they're playing like kids. They're turnover machines. I mean, they're struggling. They're stumbling, and I don't know if it's contract. I don't know if it's whatever it is. Is it too much pressure? They're kids. I get all that. They are
kids. They are kids, and we are seeing a dynamic here where it was real early in their pro careers where they were it, Mac. They are it. They now know because they've been told by the media and the fans that you guys are going to lead us to the promised land and you're going to do it now. And judging by the way you think your contracts are heading, you better.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They're superstars. I mean, I compared Pettersson to Datsuk in the summer in the playoffs, and he's as close as I've seen to him. And now, I mean, they're going to have hiccups. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't like the vibe in Vancouver. I don't like the fact, and I'm going back to coaching, that a coach takes you one play away from going to a conference final, 4 years coaching your franchise, and you don't have the coach signed. You got a lame duck coach in there. It is sending a bad message to the group. It's a bad message to the franchise, and I don't get it. Travis Green is going to leave Vancouver at the end of the year, and he's going to go somewhere else. I don't understand why there's not an extension there and in place and move on. I don't get why they're playing this game.
You said it last week.
It's money.
Times are tough and there's no money. So that's the risk that you take, that you're going to lose a good coach because of the fact that you don't want to step up right now.
Yeah, and I think it's unsettling. I think it's unsettling to their young players. I think it's unsettling to some vets there. I just think there's a bad vibe there. Not to mention they lost some quality veterans that they let walk away. So Jimmy Benning's got his contract. I happen to like Jimmy Benning a lot. I think he's a good guy, but I'm sorry. He better get in Aquilini's ear and start talking to him about getting an extension somehow, some way done for his coach. Because if they stumble against Ottawa in these next 3 games, look out. It could get real ugly.
Yeah. Well, 2 struggling teams out of the gate. Also the Edmonton Oilers, but Mac, they found a way to get some magic late. What do you want to talk about? A buzzer beater. Draisaitl's goal with under 1 second on a game that really slipped out of the Winnipeg Jets' hands. Note, Puljujarvi up with Connor McDavid. I think we were all in agreement when we knew that Puljujarvi was going to come back, that he'll never live up to the billing of a top 5 drafted player. But is there a way that this guy could actually hold on to that spot shotgun with Connor McDavid and find a way? Because I haven't seen him too much better than the game against Winnipeg, Mac. Big guy that can skate, get to the net, cause havoc, get some scoring opportunities. Puljujarvi was good.
He made a couple plays. I mean, you would have liked to have seen him score the one right at the net where he almost chipped it in on an unbelievable play from Connor McDavid. But he wants to go to bed every night and get down on his hands and knees and pray that he stays with McDavid. Because that's a career maker right there. Let me tell you, that's a career maker to get a chance to play with him and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I mean, what I watched McDavid do last night in that game, I mean, McDavid is like I'm watching Pittsburgh, and I keep telling you they're going to make the playoffs. You don't buy it, but Sid is Sid. And McDavid is McDavid, and Draisaitl is Draisaitl. They will do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I mean, for Puljujarvi, that is a real important thing, is find somebody who can play with McDavid.
Yeah.
And I hope it's Puljujarvi. He's taken a tremendous heat, immature, language issues when he first came over. Look, he's gone home. He's paid a price. Kenny Holland was smart enough not to move him. Who knows what he becomes? People had him. I'm listening to the broadcast last night, and they're saying people had him have had a line A at a lot of the time in that draft year. And I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The one thing that you cannot do, unfortunately, you can watch all the skill you want. You can go scout as many games as you want, but you can't crawl in between the ears. And I think one of the biggest issues with Puljujarvi when he came in was a sense of entitlement, that he was just going to come in and he's going to be a top player like any other top player. And it just didn't happen. And you hope that the early life lessons that he had is now paying off a little bit. It just seems like he's mature. He's ready for basically, Mac, to do whatever it takes to be successful. And if that means now, reinventing yourself, you're not going to be a surefire superstar or Hall of Famer. Hey, you can still have a good career. And guess what? You can find a way to score 20, 25 goals if you stick on this 97 guy's line.
Oh, you want to believe it. Or even Draisaitl's line. So, you know what? All of a sudden, Cassian goes to the third line. He did some good things. Their defense is battling. Koskinen has been a little bit better, and they pick up a couple of wins. So good on them. Vancouver, you know what? Vancouver's going to, or I should say Winnipeg's going to be interesting too, Nick. This is Wheeler and Scheifele's team now, especially when Laine's left. Where does Dubois fit in? You know what? A lot of pressure on Scheifele and Wheeler and Hellebuck to get something done at playoff time. And I'm anxious to see where that goes.
It was an attention-seeking trade, Mac. We did our analysis on it on the weekend, and I don't know, 10,000 views. I mean, that's some serious interest from fans all over the world, I guess, on this trade. It's still going to be a while. It doesn't appear that Patrick Laine will be ready probably for another. He's day-to-day, I guess.
And Jeff Rimmer, by the way, the famous play-by-play guy in Columbus, giving you some shots, saying that you weren't quite factual, that they have in fact talked about a contract extension, that's the word coming out of Columbus. And I'm challenging you on your, whether you were accurate or not in this commentary on our 10,000 plus clip.
So let me ask you something. If someone from Columbus picks up the phone and talks to Patrick Laine and say, "Hey, welcome to the team. We'd really like to get you on a long-term deal," does that qualify?
Well, it does to Jeff Rimmer.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So you're suggesting they have not talked to Octagon about an extension?
I don't think for one second that they're in any type of
hurry
or serious talks. Put it that way. So would they, after making this trade, be in a situation that they would want him long term? Absolutely. Where would you start, Mac, for Patrick Laine? Like, would you throw out 10 times 7 or 10 times 8 now, of course, after a trade?
Well, I guess you would, and then you'd have Werenski saying, where do I get in line? And Seth Jones saying, where do I get in line? And Korpisalo at a little over $2 million, wondering where he gets in line. So there's going to be a lineup at the GM's door, which, look, that's what happens when you have good players. That's good. You love to have that problem.
Wouldn't you be at least wise to say, maybe I should just come here and play and see if I like it? Because there seems to be a bit of an issue with players running out the door here. So why don't we just start with just seeing if I like it? Well,
I'm not trying to get into something. I'm just stating facts that Rimmer challenged you on this. And I don't disagree with you, and I trust your inside knowledge. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. So I think you're right. Let's see if you really love it in Columbus. Laine said he's heard great things about it. Ken Hitchcock told Jeff Rimmer yesterday, I can't believe players don't love it. Everybody loves being in Columbus. I said, yeah, Hitch loves it. When he doesn't have a job, he'd love to go back. Sure. Every unemployed coach loves Columbus. I love Columbus. I think it's a great city. I think it's a great town. I don't like hearing about this sort of stuff. And I hope Laine resigns there. But I just wanted to make sure that the process hasn't really started.
Yes. Well, listen.
Thank you.
I don't want you, first of all,
telling anybody.
No. I don't want you to burn your number one source, your number one league source in Jeff Rimmer, just to
I thought you meant Hitchcock.
Save me, to save my reputation. So don't, stick with Jeff Rimmer.
As I told you, Rimmer gives me every scoop as long as it doesn't involve Columbus. He knows nothing about Columbus, which we've just proven there with his commentary.
Mac, it's kind of funny to watch, or not funny, but it's interesting to watch the response in Winnipeg on losing Patrick Laine. You invest a certain amount of time. It appears like you've got one of the best young scorers in the game. And it never felt right almost from the beginning, if that makes any sense, in terms of where he was viewed within the organization. And it was interesting to hear Wheeler talk a little bit about, reminiscing about Patrick Laine in the last few years. And there seems to be a lot of people that were disappointed maybe within the organization and themselves that they didn't, I don't know if the words, treat Patrick a little better. Embrace or just get him to the point where, he wouldn't have been miserable playing there.
Mm-hmm. Might have started with putting him with Scheifele a little more often and maybe bumping Wheeler down.
And that's a valid point here that Wheeler's 34 years of age and you are I guess you're in a win now mode for Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. You have to be to make this, 22, but you're really making this trade for the likes of getting the most out of, I guess, Blake Wheeler. Yeah. But, there's a lot of people that said we blew it. We blew having a chance to have a great goal scorer in Patrick Laine.
I've often wondered here, Nick, about I started hearing the Laine that there was some issues going on, and I started to think back to Byfuglien. Why did Byfuglien walk out of there? Why did he leave, Nick? Was it an injury or was there more to that story than he was injured?
Mac,
is there a bad vibe there?
Well, listen, it's clear he wasn't registering on the fun meter. Okay, yeah. We know that. Now, what does that mean? He lost the passion to play the game. He wasn't enjoying his environment. He wasn't feeling like he was a big part in terms of everybody pulling on the same rope. I don't know. We haven't heard from him. We don't know. And I'm not going to I'm going to sit here and try to guess, but he wasn't having fun. That we do know.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, whatever the case is, Dubois goes in there, and it's going to be very interesting where he fits in, where Stastny fits in. Stastny probably moves to the wing. Adam Lowry, look, I watched him last night. I love the way this kid plays. There should be a better. I love Laine, and I think Columbus did a great job in this deal, and I think Winnipeg did a great job, and I think both teams will be better for it. But a lot of pressure on Dubois, but at least he can step in under Scheifele and grow as a young player, or continue to grow as a young player. But they are going to be so good down the middle eventually, and so big and so playoff ready down the middle. And Columbus need a scorer. So to me, it's a win-win, in my opinion, as long as they can get him signed.
That's a 1-1A. There's some nights where Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be the number one centerman on that team.
And there's some nights he's going to be the number 4 because he can fall asleep as well. But hey, Nick,
come on,
watched
Mac.
him against Tampa Bay. How good was he against Tampa Bay and Toronto last year? This kid, as a kid, was a dominant player against a couple of the best teams to play against in the NHL, especially Tampa Bay, and even in that Toronto series. Seriously.
All right, where do you want to go now? Because
I want to go to the dentist. I want to go to the dentist.
Forget it. Don't go to the dentist just yet. Let's go to Vegas because we're seeing.
We're calling this the shit disturber. Change the thumbnail, the shit disturber session today.
There with Doug Maclean. Just prior to.
Oh, you can't? Oh, okay.
Mac, we're watching a 1-1A scenario in Vegas.
Yeah.
You see Marc-Andre Fleury, Robin Lehner come in. I think virtually the same amount of minutes, but one guy's 3-0, pitched a shutout on the weekend in Marc-Andre Fleury. Is this just the way it's going to be? It's good. Everybody's happy. They're winning. No one's going anywhere.
Yeah, look, with the way Fleury's come in and played, and look, he was pretty good against Arizona, and I mean a shutout the other night, and a 1-0 game. I mean, he's made some big saves. There's a lot of positives going on in Vegas right now. The owner loves Fleury. That changes the GM stance when the owner loves a guy. You all of a sudden, I don't really love that player. And then the owner says, I really love that player. And then the GM says, I kind of like him too. But how is it going to work long term? Obviously, it won't. What's Fleury got? 1 year left in his deal, is it, or 2? And
I think he's got 2.
And Fleury with 5.
And next year. At 7.
And the cap will become a major crunch, so I don't see it working long term. I don't, but right now it's happy times in Vegas.
Yeah. Now, somebody mentioned to me, Mac, that Robin Leonard weighed in at training camp at over 300 pounds. Is that possible?
No, that can't be possible.
Wow.
That can't be possible.
That's a big man.
That's a big goaltender. Look, that can't be true. And are you suggesting he's unbelievably fit at 300 pounds, or
he's a big man? I mean,
he's a big man.
He's a big man, and I would think that even if he was, in the peak condition, he'd honestly be 230, 240.
That's a 70-pound swing there.
Well, I don't think he's 300 pounds. He might have at one point maybe been a little close, but
that's unbelievable.
I've heard those type of numbers.
Be true.
We've heard those type of numbers with Big Buff.
Okay? Oh no, that's exactly who I was thinking of right now.
We've heard those numbers. I've just never heard those numbers on a goalie before.
I mean, God love him. Warren Strelo, the goalie coach we were with in Washington, didn't weigh that much. And, Warren hadn't played in 40 years. I mean, come on. That can't be true. Rimmer will question you on this for sure.
What's you're saying? I'm not telling you if it's true. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing.
That's PEI to the limit. As Mother used to say, I'm not telling you it's the truth. I'm just telling you what I heard.
Okay,
so we go with that.
Let's stay on the goaltending theme. You mentioned that Crosby isn't going to let anybody think that Pittsburgh's not legit. They found a way to another squeaky game at the last minute. Jake Gensel gets the game-winning goal on a leaky goal on Shesterkin, Mac. And Rangers have looked good enough to win on a few nights, but they're not finding a way to win. That goal can't go in on Shesterkin. It doesn't matter, whether or not, you're young or not. At this point, you're playing in a National Hockey League game. You're an NHL goalie. You don't let that leaky thing in for a game-winning goal.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on these young goaltenders in New York. I mean, we've put them on a pedestal in our preseason, commentary. The organization has put them on a pedestal. Lundqvist is gone. Time for a change there, I guess, when you've got two, future stars in goal. But they're still kids, and they've got to win games, and they've got a lot of kids there. But they've got some quality veterans too. Like I love where the Rangers are, but it hasn't shown yet. It hasn't shown.
So we watched Jack Hughes score another goal, and we talked about him at the end of the week, starting to come in on his own. He ends up scoring a goal, and then we see first pick overall, Lafreniere, 5 games in, no points, -2. It does lean a little bit towards, again, to the point that you're making, that you can put a lot of weight on yourself. He's going to be a fantastic player, as Jack Hughes is kind of proving that it takes. And Puljujärvi, Mac, same thing. Not everybody arrives at the same time.
A ton of guys, a ton of them. Joe Thornton. How long did it take Joe Thornton? God, he got traded. Boston traded him. You know, it happens. It's the way it is. But I still like their group. I really do like the Ranger group. And, good to see the Devils having a little success, winning some games with my good buddy Lindy Ruff. And good to see the kid getting an opportunity and playing well. So good on them.
So, Mac, when we talk about, the challenges, of course, in a pandemic, we're watching the NHL come out with a schedule update. And really, essentially, we're starting to see some games getting squeezed in a very short period of time. The league announcing that the Florida Panthers' remaining 54 games will be played in 102 days.
Yeah.
Dallas, 104 days. They got 54 games as well. Carolina, 53 in 100 days, Mac.
Oh, no.
This is like baseball. You play every day almost.
This is not good. And that's just like, where is this going to go as we move along? So, yeah, there's some extensions, I guess they have to extend the season, and obviously they've planned for that. But what we're also seeing is we're starting to see injuries pile up. We're starting to see some COVID situations. Where is this going to all go? Obviously, they'll have to extend the season, I believe. I mean, when you start getting into that situation where you're playing every second day for 3 months, I'm sorry, that's not good. That's not good. And we're going to see teams miss the playoffs because of their schedule situation. Luckily, they don't have to travel a whole lot. That's the greatest thing about this is there's no coast-to-coast travel.
And then you just wonder too, some guys let their guard down, and you got a physical team that starts taking advantage of some guys at 5'9", 5'10", 160 pounds. Those are the guys that I worry about, Mac.
I know. I mean, that's where you can, and we've got a lot of kids in the league. So it's smaller, it's young, there's going to be some real challenges for some. We go back to Vancouver. It's young players, when they're your key guys and you get into these tough situations, in condensed situations, it makes it even more challenging to have success.
All right. How's your jaw and your mouth feeling now that you've loosened it up for the last hour? You good? You ready for the dentist chair?
It's going to feel a lot better when I get the prescriptions in me.
Jordan, do we need to put Mac on the IR, or are we just
put him out to
play?
No, what you need to do is put him out to pasture.
Are we are we going to give him a day off, maybe, or maybe we just give you all listening a day off?
Yeah,
from him.
I've noticed the show struggles when I'm not here, so I just shut her down until I'm.
Anything else standing out, Mac, before we let you go?
Why do you get Rimmer on with you?
We can get Rimmer on. I don't like.
Oh no, he's hiding right now.
I don't like exposing your sources, though.
Exactly.
We will get him back on. We need to get him on the show.
We need to straighten him out.
We will. You definitely need to straighten him out. Protect him. I'll protect him.
Not trusting your information.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm glad you cleaned that up.
Well, listen, thanks for today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Laughing gas. Do you need any at all, or do you just provide yourself that?
I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay, Doug Maclean out of Florida, headed to the dentist chair at Tooth Hurdy. Jordan, no one's laughing. Okay, everybody, that's it for us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed a little feedback off of Doug Maclean. We'll see what he has the rest of the week. We'll see if he recovers. We'll find him for you. First-time watchers, subscribe. Let us know in the chat in terms of your comments, your thumbs up, of course, always appreciated. Enjoy the rest of the night. We'll see you soon.